Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear. Welcome at the buzzer crowd on Divergent Friday. It's pretty wild action today.
Yes, it was. Welcome to all of our buzzer beaters. Thank you for joining us. And welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If it's I'm here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before. Our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. You are all our chat, our audience. Let us know how you did to end the week. Today is Friday. Were you up on the week, down on the week? Anything that you learned from the week? JD just said it in the chat. No NFP, but we still got a good move. Yeah, no data, but the markets did still provide a ton of opportunity. You were looking for it. We know that government shutdown is going to, a lot of the bigger numbers that we look for, they're canceled for now or delayed, if you will. We'll see how long this government shutdown lasts and how many of these planned numbers we're going to have to skip. I'm curious to see what happens. If this goes a month or two, some of the data that we have, do they just compile it all? Do they say, hey, this was October, this was September? How does that work? But we shall see.
Can we survive without government numbers?
Right. And
Or
can
maybe
they?
the private sector takes it over.
Good point. Good point. We still do have some of those private sector numbers. We got the ADP number earlier this week, but we shall see. Let's take a look at the news as far as planned news goes. We did get some numbers that still came out. S&P Services PMI final came in at 54.2. Forecast was 53.9. We had a bunch of Fed speakers today as well, but then outside of that, not too much. ISM Services PMI came in at 50. Forecast was 51.7. But again, the government shutdown, we are not going to get some of the planned news. And of course, NFP was the big one today. Anything you got on the news, Coach Paul?
No, those ISM numbers were a little better than expected, but nothing like that was life changing. And a lot of Fed speakers. Do they speak a lot on Fridays? Do you notice that? Or
They
is that
speak a lot any day that ends with Y. It seems like there is always a Fed speaker on the calendar. They can always find a microphone. Some of them are voting members. Myron, who is the new Fed appointee, seems like he has been speaking a lot. He was speaking before the market opened this morning. I just heard Andre saying, during Power Hour that Myron was at the microphone again and say, hey, I'm new to my job. I want to show that I'm good at my job, so I'm going to speak. But yeah, there are Fed speakers literally up and down the calendar. It seems like as soon as that blackout period ends, I'm looking at the calendar for next week, October 7th. I just scroll down and randomly I see Myron speaks next week. So yeah, they anywhere there's a microphone.
No, there is one positive development. Is Hamas has agreed to some of the terms. Am I reading that right?
I am seeing that. We affirm its readiness to immediately engage in negotiations through mediators to discuss details of this matter. We agree to release all Israeli hostages alive or bodies under Trump's Gaza proposal. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so that's good news.
So
we go.
Whether that goes through or not, we'll see.
We shall see. Got an update from Bloomberg here as well. The House is out next week as shutdown continues. So we may be seeing this thing extended. We are at 3 days now. 3 days.
3 days.
Shutdown. The last one was 34 days. So let's see how long this one lasts. All right, let's take a look at the quote board. There are 36 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts today. To the downside, we had soybeans down 0.66%, Soybean oil down 0.93%. And natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside at 3.31%. To the upside, we had copper up 2.84%, silver up 3.14%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 3.64%. Talk about our big four. We had the S&P making a new all-time high, tagging 6,800, ending the day down 0.08%. Gold up 1.09%. Crude oil, skipped crude oil, up 0.53%. And the NASDAQ did not make a new all-time high. A little bit of a divergence, like Coach Paul was talking about. Did we make it? We made a new all-time high in the overnight, didn't we? We did.
Yes,
196
think
halved. Go ahead, Coach Paul.
we ticked it out by a couple ticks.
Yep. Yeah, we ran that prior all-time high, made a new all-time high in the NASDAQ, 25,196 half. Uh, and we saw yesterday when we got up in that area that there was a big seller right under 200, 25,198 and 25,199. On Thursday, we saw about 1,600 contracts offered there between those two prices. And it looks like they might have still been up there because the NASDAQ could not trade above that 25,200 and is back under 25,000, which was one of the hypotheses we talked about during the opening call today. The NASDAQ ending the day down 0.52%. It is a Friday, Coach Paul, so why don't we look at a weekly chart? Taking a look at the weekly in the NASDAQ. What are you seeing here?
Oh, continuation. Up and to the right. Classic rally. Not surprised. A little break today. Doesn't finish at the highs of the week, but very bullish looking chart. And with to me a high probability of continuation. But other than that, I can't overstate the bullishness of it.
Haven't taken out a prior week's low in 5 weeks. Just continuing to push here, looking very strong. We had a little inside week last week, little pullback, but we are continuing to trade higher. Highest all-time weekly close, and just continuing to rally. Continuing to rally. Anything on the daily that sticks out to you?
Finally got some selling. I think that's healthy selling. Did we hold yesterday's low?
Well, we traded below it. We are actually we would be closing below it right now. 24,979 is the last trade in the Nasdaq. Yesterday's low was 24,993. So we would be closing below. Maybe a little 3-bar reversal on the daily here.
Maybe down. So and we're closing right at the half-hour 200 moving average.
Yep.
Maybe just catching a rest on a Friday. But still very constructive. I don't see anything. It could use some selling, some healthy selling for a continuation, but nothing that did damage to the long-term viability of this rally.
Taking a look at the half an hour chart, then we have last night was a pretty nice rally into the overnight session. We had some urgency to the upside here on the open. We saw the rally into the close, pretty heavy sell-off. We traded to about 50% of yesterday's range and held it. Volume traded it up higher, back up to the high of that range, taking out the high. But at some point, that volume started to flatten out for the day. And it's happening right when the New York session opens. Same thing yesterday, right? We had a rally in the overnight. New York comes in and sells it. And there was no difference today. 25,196 half, new all-time high in gold. Sorry, in the NASDAQ. But a pretty one-directional move once we made that high, Coach Paul. A little bit of a pull up here, but that would just look like another opportunity to sell.
Looking at the 3-minute, it was where I was talking about divergence. They had an opening range breakout to the downside in NASDAQ. And the Russell had an opening range breakout to the upside. And I think the S&P also. NASDAQ was decidedly different than the other markets.
Is this a
Um,
perfect time to go 4 charts?
yes,
Let's do it.
I
Let's do
haven't
it.
done that in a while.
We haven't. We're gonna put the Nasdaq on the top left. We're gonna put the S&P on the top right. We're gonna put the Russell on the bottom left, and we're gonna put the Dow on the bottom right. I'm gonna zoom out on all of these charts. Let's take a look at what we're seeing here. A little bit of a divergence. Let's change all of these to regular trading hours also.
Yeah, that always helps.
Here we go. Move all the drawings. Right, so Dow just took off like a rocket. That's the bottom right over here.
Yep,
The Russell did as well. The
those two
Nasdaq on
are
the top
related.
left. Yeah. And the S&P on the top right. So completely different charts, right? And Jack and Andre were having a conversation this morning on Fast Markets about the leader and the lagger, right? But sometimes, and I think we know that the components of these indices are a little bit different, right? So is this more so one leading the other, Coach Paul, or is it a rotation from one to the other?
To me, I look at it as a rotation
Yep.
because I found it NASDAQ has been leading the way in a different time frame, a longer time frame, in the last month. But with that said, we're day traders.
Right.
And that really, when I saw that this morning, because I hesitated to take the sell in the NASDAQ, I'm like, why would that? But I took it in the Russell. Did the buy in the Russell and the S&P. Wasn't looking at the Dow. But in the short, which we are short-term traders, the trend comes from, to me, on the first few minutes. And I did not expect follow through selling in NASDAQ, but what I expect and what the market does often can be two different things. And executing a trading plan should be the front of your mind. So if we look on the NASDAQ and if we weren't looking at anything else, we would I would assume that everything else is breaking, and it
This
wasn't.
was rallying.
So on the 3 minute, and it took some time, but there wasn't buying like we saw in the others. So that 3 minute, we were caught inside of it. VWAP was flat. And then we got selling like after the first half an hour. It was where it picked up pace.
Yep, about a half hour into the session, Nasdaq started going, and it really was the only equity market. The Dow made new all-time highs today. The S&P made new all-time highs today. They all eventually did end up selling off towards the middle of the day, but the Nasdaq was just weaker. I think all tech names were just kind of weak, and then we were seeing rotation into other things. Just curious, in the chat, any traders who traded any other equity markets besides the Nasdaq today? Do we have any Dow traders or any Russell traders who may have seen just more favorable price action? Looking at this Dow chart, I mean, this thing just got going as soon as the market opened up. I did not trade it, but it got going early. And someone had asked the other day about, what is the Dow like? I said it's a little bit of a combination between the Nasdaq and the ES, but it's a market that moves. I mean, look at this move here. Up at the highs, we were up 1% from the New York session open. So there's a ton of opportunity trading the Dow. Team NQ, sometimes gold. ES today, watch RTY away, Courtney. I mean, the S&P wasn't a bad choice. Wasn't a bad choice. I mean, none of these markets were a bad choice if it fits your setup, right? They all presented some opportunity. Sometimes what we'll see is one of the markets trend, or two of the markets trend, and then two of them be consolidated. Today, it was just maybe a good idea to trade the market that you trade, Coach Paul, right? Because if I'm trying to short the S&P based on what I see on the Nasdaq, I did not have a good time.
Exactly. Trade what your setup is. And I've been around a long time. it affects me. Like I can't be selling in the Nasdaq if the S&P is rallying. Um, so reading the market you're in and taking those trades and not being affected by outside markets, because whoever's in the Nasdaq, whatever affected it, is a bigger player. They're doing it for a reason. To me, well, I think it's rotation. Takes them off, spread what we used to call sprinkle the infield. Larger fund managers want to diversify. If they want to take some risk off coming into the last quarter, but they still have to buy stocks. You can, that's what the rotation is. Get out of the ones that have been paying you to lighten up, and then you have to own stock. Well, sprinkle it around, diversify. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that. We are in October. How much are we up on the year? We are at all-time highs,
Questioning.
but
So the yearly open in the S&P right here, 6101 basically.
okay. So we're up about 10%, 12%.
Yeah, just over 10% in the S&P, it looks like.
What about the Nasdaq?
14%, just under 15%.
All right. The Dow,
We go to the Russell first. Russell is up just over 7%, and the Dow. These are, ballpark measures. We're not getting these exact. Just over 7% as well. Everyone's seeing
so the
ADXY April.
laggards, there we go. We talk about the catch-up trade. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Especially we're in October, where the rotation can happen. Fund managers like to get paid, just like all of us, and they get paid quarterly. They don't get paid, and if they have a bad quarter, it's not, it could be another quarter before they get paid. It can influence their decision making. So it's something to watch. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the way that this morning, and I think we saw it yesterday, with the strength in uh, Russell and Dow, maybe it's a trend. What does the weekly look like in Russell?
Strong. It looks similar to. They all kind of look the same here.
Yeah.
They all look pretty much the same. One day, and it really is just a matter of the day, right? What some days are going to be better in one market than the other, but they on a higher time frame, uh, can't go wrong buying any of these. It looks like right now, or
No.
or holding on to any if you already in them.
Um, yeah. I mean, when we look at this, it almost gets repetitive. It looks bullish.
Yep.
Well, we keep making all-time highs. You know, if you're trading well, or if you're in the flow, you should be long at
All time highs.
all-time highs.
Yep.
So, other than that, but just completely ignoring any quote unquote government problems.
The other thing I want to point out on this chart is the S&P. Example of watching market reactions to whole number levels. The S&P traded 6,800 to the tick, 43 contracts traded there, and we gave back the entire move. So watching that market's response to whole number levels, sometimes you're going to get a great response, sometimes you're not, but it can be an indicator. And there's a group that I used to trade with, and every time a market was coming to one of these whole number levels, Coach Ball, they would just put out the
Mhm.
ticker and the just a short acronym WW. where it would be like ESWW, which meant worth watching, and the ES is
So
worth watching coming to 6,800 because we have the potential to make a trade like this, right? And it's just potential. There's no guarantee that says, "Hey, go ahead and sell 6,800, surefire trade." But when there are no buyers up there at that major level, everyone who bought into it at some point, uh, make it all-time high and it doesn't go higher, you have to sell to see profits. And that could have been because I didn't see a headline or anything in the middle of the day. Maybe there was a Fed speaker that said something, but from a technical perspective, rejecting to the tick at that major level was a pretty important sign up there, similar to what the Nasdaq is doing at 25,200 when it gets up there.
now, when it gets up there, there's certain strategy or way to look at it that you would use. I know I would go down to a shorter time frame.
100%. So let's look at it. You could go down to a shorter time frame. For me, what I start to look at is when we get to these whole number levels, I want to see what is on the order book, right? So what's sitting up there that we might have to get through because we know that well, we don't know, but if you assume that volume moves the market, when we trade up to a major level, if there's volume up there, we're going to need enough buyers to get through it. Uh, and if we don't have those buyers, then whatever's sitting up there on the books, we don't trade through. So what I would look at, Coach Paul, for me is the depth of market and time and sales. And I just want to see how the market trades through it. Now we can see in this case, we didn't really get that buying exhaustion up at the highs. It just got heavy, right? You use that analogy all the time where you're in the gym and you're lifting a weight that you haven't lifted before. Uh, and that's kind of what it looked like. And now the market needed to re-rack those weights.
Well, I see we have some here says they faded you, Jay, and made money this week.
Nice. My friend
Keep doing
Bears in
it.
the chat. Nice job, Bears. Good job. Good trade.
Now, this is we're getting back into the real problem here is they're at those levels. Also, another thing, what happened? We slowed down. The size of the candles collapsed after a rally.
Yeah.
So it's worth watching. If you're, I don't like to fade that, but when we're talking what I like and different types of styles, um, just what I would say is just selling a price just because it's at that level isn't necessarily a prudent thing to do. Um, but where does it fail? And one of the things is time. Um, it there how many candles in a row did we have against that?
Yeah, there's a good amount up there.
So
Good amount of rejection up there at those 6,800s. Courtney saying you saw some orders hitting the S&P at 67.95 and not moving the market. Yeah, if you can't lift, if you keep pushing on something and you can't lift it, eventually it is going to turn the other way. And that is what happened up there. We could see, look at the volume up at those highs, just decreasing. Prices going higher, volume just came down. No one was there to push it, and that
interesting
falls
is
apart.
that volume, that big selling volume.
Yeah, and guess it happens right at the top of the hour. This was 12 p.m. Central Time,
It's Friday.
right when everybody's coming back from lunch. Apparently, I'm in the chat. I'm seeing that there was some news about a China headline related to tariffs around that time. Is it a coincidence that this happens at a time where we expect high volume to come back into the market? I mean, headline released right at the top of the hour seems pretty convenient to me.
Considering it's what time in China?
Right,
Midnight?
right. Seems pretty convenient, but nice little sell there. I'll take my tinfoil hat off, but we could not push 6,800, and down we go. Down we go, ending the day negative after making all-time highs, which we've seen the S&P do a lot recently. We've seen it do that a lot.
And also that volume, we talk about looking for J trades. Well, that volume wasn't the high or the low.
In the
It
middle.
couldn't, it was right in the middle off the, there was a big order there. There was big selling, right?
Yep.
Obviously. Now, we frame out that candle and we can't get above it. There's a higher probability of continuation to the downside, like just being patient. So we talk a lot about J trades or selling exhaustion or buying exhaustion. We can also look at continuation. Someone dumped how many contracts or an entity? There was an imbalance of orders or volume, more than orders, of how many contracts?
These 2 3-minute candles here, and I'm marking out both of these because that was continuation volume. That was
Mhm.
about 45,000 contracts in 6 minutes. Not all to the sell
Okay.
side, obviously, but that was a pretty heavy selling that came in.
Yeah. So let's just we cut that in half.
Right.
Now that if there's an imbalance there, it's got to trade out. So you would have to have, to me, for my days in the pit, you'd have to have at least an equal amount of buy volume to absorb that imbalance, and we don't find it. So what's going to happen? Whoever has got that imbalance at the time is going to offer it out, and then it put pressure. Not surprisingly, down to new lows.
Shout out to Coach Hoop, who's in this short from 67.98. Very nice trade there, sir. Uh, what do we recommend as a good starting daily stop limit on a 50K account? I saw Coach Hoop answered the question in the chat, but Coach Paul, your suggestion for a daily loss limit on these accounts, 12%.
Max.
12% max daily loss limit. And that's when you say max that way, and I think you clarified that for a reason. I probably shouldn't be hitting that every day. Where
And
Go ahead.
and it's percentage,
Mhm.
because what is your balance? It's 3,000
The
if you're
50K,
just
you're
starting.
trading a $2,000 drawdown.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're going to be a manager of risk and money, then you have to, well, first of all, think in percentages. So let's be positive. Let's say you have a great week and you make $1,000 in that. So now your balance is 4,000. Your drawdown balance. Well, now 10% is 400. 450 is your max daily. The key point here is that at one point, we do this all the time. If you traded, there's going to be a day where you are going to look back and wish you stopped at $400. It's just about universal. If you do it enough, then you come to the conclusion, I can't allow that to happen. So that, to me, if you want to get funded, you have to show some responsibility. And to me, that's reasonable. How about you, Coach?
12% suggestion, and I like what you said there. So JJ in the chat, who originally asked the question, said 12% on what kind of size? That's 6K on the 50K. So we got to remember, right? The 50K combine that you're trading is not $50,000. You have a $2,000 drawdown. So that 12% should be based on what the drawdown is available in your account and not the leverage. That 50K is basically the amount of margin you would need to put up to be able to trade the size that you're able to trade in Topstep accounts, right? With an actual brokerage. So think of the accounts that you're trading as 2,000, 3,000, and 4,500, because that's the drawdown that you have to work with. Uh,
Yeah, that's your bankroll.
Here we go.
So great question.
Yeah. And JJ says you have your daily set right now at 400 before lockout. So 400 divided by 2,000
About 15,
is
16%.
is 20%, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so 12% on 2K. You could do that math. It's $240, which means what? That we probably should be trading micros in that account.
Yeah.
$240 with a one lot. Um, and this is a suggestion, right? Should you everybody trade this way? Maybe, maybe not. I think we've seen some traders, and shout it out in the chat, right? Has anyone who has been watching us for a while used that suggestion? I know we had Paul H, who's always here. I haven't seen Paul in a little bit. Got to check up on him. But anyone in the chat, have you used that suggestion, and how has it helped, if at all, in your trading? Let JJ know, because it's a suggestion. But at the end of the day, everyone has to manage their account the way they see fit. Right. Kind of been. I like this little 4-up we're going here, especially because we have all of the metals moving for the most part. So why don't we go gold on the top left? We're gonna go platinum on the top right. I'm gonna put silver. Actually, we'll put silver on the top right. We'll put platinum on the bottom left, and copper. The only other one we have, copper,
Yeah.
on the bottom right.
And let's bring up the weeklies.
Let's do that. So I see Bink in the chat. Bink always joining us. Been locked in at 10%. Never held my exit phase longer since I've made the change. Love to hear that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, when I come to that was when I was managing money. You have to be professional. You have to be business-like. If you want an entity, someone or an entity, you got to build a track record. And I'll tell you what, when you do they look. It's not like, oh, here's $50,000, here's $100,000. Have at it. Good luck. No, they're gonna ask for some kind of proof. Remember, it's a combine. So being business-like might take longer, but you do it right, and you do it over some time, there's more money than you can handle. It's what money managers go like, I got to stop. I can't think anymore.
Here are the weeklies in the metals. Gold making new all-time high, 39.2330. Silver making decade highs.
Oh my God, is that
48.32, 48.325 in silver. Silver is just a monster market right now. Volume down, there we go. Platinum, another one. Highs of, we haven't seen these highs in 10 years in platinum, and copper starting to reverse some of this tariff news. So all of the metals right now, pick a metal market. It is in a, not only is it's in a strong trend right now, for the most part. Any metal market that you can think of, we're not seeing the same aggressiveness, Coach Paul, in the equities that we're seeing in the metals.
Oh, absolutely not. And it's a generational movement. What I mean by that, to me, this is a reaction against the dollar by China, India, Russia, the other half of the world, because we're not seeing these moves in currencies. It's not like the dollar is getting creamed. It's just that the central banks or some countries are going, we don't trust the system. This is like a classic playbook. And by the way, I wonder where we can get charged where you would measure that in different currencies.
Yeah, I think you could do it in TradingView.
So we can't do it today, but I want to look away because it'll be interesting.
Yep.
But wow, that silver chart.
Silver looks insane.
I'm gonna buy some cash silver this weekend.
Silver looks insane.
I'm gonna have to suck it up because I hate when you do cash. You pay 10%.
You pay a premium, yeah.
So 10%. If I buy $1,000 worth of silver, it's $100. And okay, well, it's only 10. It's not 10% because at some point you want to sell it. And I'm going to clip you for 10%.
Another processing fee, right? So now, yeah,
So it's 20%.
yep.
But if it moves up 500%, what am I going to say? But anyway, silver, absolutely. That's just it's like a sky, rocket ship.
This thing is just taking off right now. A question from Balaji before, and let's take a look at a 30-minute chart. Maybe we can answer this question here across the board again. Uh, Balaji asked, seems the 200 SMA on the 30-minute is a deal breaker for the bulls and the bears. Should the 30-minute be a time frame for short-term intraday trading?
Uh,
Thoughts on that?
um, no, it's a tough. You'll have less trades, but
Not a bad thing.
I use it. Are we above it? Then if I get structure, I want to buy it. It's going to feed my bias. But on a day-to-day basis, because how many times do we hit it? That's a tougher trade on a short-term basis. I think it's more for giving you some guidance. If it's below, if I'm looking to buy it and I have structure to buy it and it's above, I'm going to go for it. Now, is there a time where okay, it's on? We've broke and it's bouncing like Nasdaq did today. Is it bouncing off the 200? Yeah, I could use. I would use it that way, if that makes sense.
What are these white lines on this chart? Bunch of them. The gold responded to the 200 moving average at some point. We did trade lower than it, but we've been talking about this pattern where we traded lower than the 200 moving average. Volume never followed. Is that just a blind buy the dip? It's not. But when we reclaim the 200 moving average, it's a nice spot to look. Um, Similar
Yeah.
story here. We had volume trading under the 200 in silver.
Oh, there's a J trade. Wow.
Where are you looking at? It's
That.
here.
Yep.
So that was from yesterday, which is, hey, sometimes you got to look at yesterday, got to look left to know where you're going to the right, right? And we say it all the time. There are multiple time frame market participants, not just day traders. Uh, that's why during the opening call, I love looking back at some of these high volume 30-minute candles because they tell us a whole lot. Uh,
Yeah.
tell us a whole lot.
Gold. Yeah. When I go to one side, that's the bias. I really, I'm just not, I'm looking, I don't want to sell it. I wouldn't be comfortable because even look, yesterday's action, it just is set up as a better buy. But that's me. But I keep out of trouble that way because I used to get in a lot of trouble in trading, of
Really
course.
nice. Had to clarify that.
Yeah, I had to clarify that. Might have the nuns come back from my past and whack me with a pointer again. Yeah, Dakota made a chunk of change last night on that short side.
He did.
Um,
Yes, he did. Nice trade there that he had. He was short from, I believe, 91s or 89s, something like that in gold. A pretty nice trade, which goes to show there are opportunities on both sides of the market. Do you want to trade them? Are you sometimes sacrificing a better trade in lieu of trying to get in and catch any price movement? But I think gold, the equities, they have been presenting two-sided trade. So, I mean, we saw it in the S&P today, right? We reject at a major level. It's a beautiful short if somebody wants to take that trade, even though on a higher time frame the markets are in an uptrend. That's the one thing we kind of have as a gift as a day trader, gift and a curse. And catch and make some pretty good money catching counter trend moves. And Dakota proved that again today in the S&P, in the Nasdaq, and in gold. Really nice trades for both. All right, let's talk about energies. Well, crude oil on the left, uh, natural gas on the right, which doesn't get a lot of love, but we'll trade it anyway. What other energies do we have?
Unleaded and heating oil.
Oil on the bottom left, and RBOB, gasoline futures, on the bottom right. See, I haven't looked at these in a minute. So let me do this. Zoom in here. All these charts look almost exactly the same
There's a
on this time
theme.
frame. Yeah, they look exactly the same.
Now, the crude had a nice attempt at a bounce.
Yeah.
But it's very, I mean, the range was tough. It's a tough trade. Natural gas, though, had quite a rally earlier this week. And of course, just like natural gas does, what
Fall back.
goes up? Is that a Batman head and shoulders?
Is it? Uh, it looks more like a cone head.
Cone head. All right. Um, but there was a dramatic move early. We haven't covered it much, but natural gas, let's take a look at that daily.
Natural gas on the top right.
All right, top right. We had, look at that, decent rally, but once again, it's in a longer term range. It did not close above the breakout that range. It wicked. So, man, it could go right back to the bottom of that range, um, and in a hurry. So nobody brought that up. Was a Wednesday's low. We ticked through. We didn't close through. I think natural gas would be one of those to watch early on Sunday night. 'Cause it likes to. Maybe it got scared by a hurricane. Um,
We get the Sunday gap in natural gas. Also, just looking at this chart really quick, we have this 30-minute candle. Again, high volume. I would just watch the market's response to that range, right? Closing below that, which we did already. We're rejecting it. Could be a nice opportunity to fall right back into the middle of that range. We did something similar yesterday. Had that high volume, close below it, trend lower. Could we have a similar setup here? While crude oil is trying to figure out what it's doing. JJ in the chat says, I've been looking at natural gas for a few days. Seems like a decent seasonal play. It's a great market to trade. We don't talk about it much. There are micros as well, MNG, so you can limit your risk. But it moves. Natural gas, if you look at percentage moves, is going to have usually a higher percentage than crude oil. And there's 36 different markets we can trade with Topstep. We don't suggest trading all of them. We're trying to look at every single one of them as a trade. That's why we don't do this 4-up chart thing that much, but it's Friday. We're doing something a little different today. But yeah, it's a great market to trade.
all right, now that you have four, we can't do it, but crypto.
Well, I put up the micro Bitcoin chart when we had gold up because digital gold. But let's do micro Bitcoin. We'll do micro Ethereum on the top right. We'll do the euro
The
on the bottom
euro.
left.
I want to give a
And we'll
shout out here
do the 30 year
to
on the bottom right. Go ahead.
JJ McKetchick. We'll call him JJ. I'm a crypto trader, and we look at other currencies a lot. Today, Bitcoin broke all-time high against the pound and the yen, but not the euro and the dollar. That's a perspective I completely forgot about. Because remember, it's a great point. So the yen against crypto against the yen, or Bitcoin against the yen, is all-time high. One thing we're centric to United States, but the rest of the world doesn't have dollars in their bank account. So it's relative. And one of the fascinating things about Bitcoin, it's worldwide. So, fact, I mean, we see gold just melting up. Now we're seeing silver melt up. It goes back, and VodkaNet put it out there. Metals are a BRICS dollar hedge trade and a debasement trade. People are finally catching on. So you have a lot of participants. And they could be buying this for an extended period of time. And we see that kind of with the urgency. So looking at the daily on Bitcoin, and there's a big important trend line here from these last three highs, the all-time high. Coach, you're getting good at these now.
This one's the all-time high over here, right? So are we going this way or are we going this way?
We're going that way.
All right.
All right. Oh wait, that's the all-time high. I don't have that. On my machine, I have it. Oh, I know why. Because the chart is a combined chart. Either way, put those highs across. We're right there. We touched that trend line today. And I have a continuation chart, and you don't have a continuation chart. Either way, I'm telling you, we touched that trend line next week. With what we're seeing in all the other currencies against Bitcoin, all-time highs, and we had quite a rally today. I mean, we had quite a rally this week. Let's take a look at the weekly in Bitcoin. So we've gone sideways, but we're picking up momentum. That trend line becomes really important to me. Let's watch that next week. I'm going to put that on my
On the scouting report?
on the scouting report. Watch Bitcoin early next week. I'm not saying which way it's going to go, but that trend line is important. And with that information too about we're seeing the other metals and the velocity of some of these moves, what's to stop Bitcoin on a dollar basis from ripping next week? Well, the only thing would be some new sellers, and we're not seeing it. So that's on my playbook.
Awesome stuff. All right, we went through all the major markets. We went through a couple that we don't talk about all the time. Coach Paul, any other markets that you want to talk about? Send everyone off into their Fridays.
I say we send everybody off to their Fridays, get some rest, enjoy, take an hour to review the trades you made this week. And don't beat yourself up, but learn from it. And learn where you're weak at, things that are holding you back. So not necessarily that you have to make money, but executing a trading plan. Where are you going? What's holding you back if you've been struggling? It's invaluable. So spend that little bit of time and then enjoy your weekend.
So we got one more. Hard to see everyone's names now because we're getting these weird names with Discord, but sorry, with YouTube. Look at this. Can we take a look at the ZB? So real quick on the ZB, what I'm going to do, we have this huge weekly candle, which was April, right? We want to split that candle in half, know where 50% of that is. We're holding that 50% as a support right now. This is a weekly chart. Now, if we go down to a shorter time frame, taking a look at the daily, this April 7th daily candle was one that we've talked about for a long time, and seeing how the market responds there. We rejected right at 50% of that a couple of days ago. And are holding the lower extreme of that candle as well. Anything that you're seeing here on the bonds on a daily, Coach Paul?
Yeah, I'm seeing paint dry.
Huh.
I bought some I bought some calls and at the beginning of the week, and it's up a little bit from where I bought them, and I'm down $300 because volatility is coming out of it.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. And it's interesting because we just went through the volatility in the metals, and we're seeing all-time highs in Bitcoin against other currencies and a big rally. It's just, just to me, we're in an epic time. Bonds are not moving. It's not like you just said, we're in the middle of that range and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to say, be straight up. Like, who's making money in this market?
Sellers?
Premium sellers.
Yep.
I donated it and then I'm going to work my way out of it, but I don't see great opportunity here. What markets are really moving?
The equities. That is
Yep.
where the money is going right now. And like the mid-am traders used to do in the past, right, Coach Paul? Go
Yep.
to where the money's moving. Where your opportunity
Go
is.
to where the volume is.
Yep.
Literally audible, or where there's volatility. And it sure was not in that chart. Look at the 10-year also.
Still here, but again, you look at a higher time frame, really not doing too much. But if you trade it and you have a process to trade it, by all means, maybe you're a range trader and that's exactly what you're looking for, to go range to range. But we said we were going to send everybody off into their Fridays, so we can't keep going for another 9 minutes. Let's do it. Coach Paul, anything you got before we go, or did you wrap it up already? I'll send everybody
Yep. I wrapped it up. Remember, trade your plan and plan your trade.
off. Uh, enjoy your weekend, everyone. Coach Hoop is still doing his class. Is that correct, Coach Hoop? Let me know if you're still doing your segment in Discord. That would be at 5 p.m. Central Time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy some time outside before the freeze happens. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.